All right, what's up, everybody? So, for today's lesson, we're going to continue exploring, as we've done in the last couple classes, the concept of the time value of money and the power of compound interest. And so, we're going to start today's lesson like we did last time with a couple of learning targets. And so, I can use present value to calculate the current value of a future sum of money or streams of cash flow given a specified rate of return. I can explain how future value is used in investing decisions. I can use future value to calculate the value of a current asset at a future date based on an assumed rate of growth. Now, you might look at those statements and this might be new to you, but I bet you know a little bit more about these than you think you do. So take a moment and think about where you are at right now. Now, if you can't tell, today's lesson is all going to be about the terms present value and future value. One of them we are already pretty familiar with. The other one is going to be a little bit new. We're going to start looking at two questions, and I'm going to put the two questions on here. You can read them and reflect on them and see if we can notice any subtle differences between the two of them. First is, how much money would you need today, or would I need today, to have $10,000 5 years from now? And the second question is, will my money today grow to have $10,000 in 5 years? Pause the video and think about if you can see, certainly on the surface, the two questions look very similar, but see if we can notice any subtle differences between those two questions. Pause the video and reflect. Now, we notice that in this, or for these questions, one of them is kind of looking forward, and one of them is looking backward. So the first question is, how much money would you need today to have $10,000 5 years from now? So we're thinking, all right, I have a goal in mind, and I want $10,000 in 5 years from now, either to put a down payment on a house, maybe buy some nice furniture, or maybe I want some money to invest. The second one is, will money today grow to have $5,000? So I already have money right now, but will it get to my goal of having $10,000? Okay? And this is really where we start to differentiate between the concepts of present value and future value. So the future value uses compound interest to determine the outcome that you establish for your goal. So if I do this, then I will have this. Now, future value should look and sound familiar because last class, all of the compound interest calculations that we did, both together using that calculator and the power of compounding resource that we created, those are all future value scenarios. I have $1,000 in my savings account. If the account pays 1% compounded monthly, I will have X amount of dollars in X amount of years. That's what we mean by future value. We have money now and we're looking forward, or we're trying to predict how much money I will have in the future. Now, we'll get to some issues regarding future value in just a moment. Present value. Present value uses compound interest to determine the process by which you achieve your goal. So if I want this, then I need to do this. I'm going to go ahead and say I want to have $1 million by the time I am 50. You guys have more time to get there than I do. Given an approximate annual return of around 5%, I would need, so then I can think about, all right, well, what are the steps I need to take? How much money do I need today in order to get that $1 million? Or how much money do I need to start putting away every month, every year in order to reach my goal? All right, a little bit more about these two. All right, let's just kind of debrief and look at a very simple example. So if I promise to pay you $1 1 year from now, how much is that worth today? Is it worth more or less than $1?
Allergies holding you back? Try Allegra for the fastest non-drowsy.
Right, it's worth less. Why? Because you can take something less than $1, invest it now, and it will grow to $1 in 1 year. Well, how much is needed today? Well, it depends on the rate that you can earn. So let's take a look at an example. All right, so you have a choice. I always like these. You can take $2,000 today, or you can take $2,200 1 year from now. This is really kind of at the heart of the decisions that we have to make, and it helps really explain present value and future value, specifically present value for this one. Now, let's also say that you have the option of investing that $2,000 today, and you can earn 3% rate of return over the next year. So we're in a very short time period, a 1 year window. So which is the best option? Pause the video and think about just what we know about future value and compound interest and present value without doing any type of calculations. What would be the best option? Pause the video and think. All right, so here's now our formula for present value. You can see we've got three components, and most of these are going to look familiar. We have the future value, or the value of the item in the future. We have the rate of return, and we have the number of periods. In this case, our number of periods is 1. Right? So again, our scenario is I could take $2,000 today or $2,200 1 year from now, and I have the option of investing that $2,000 today to earn a 3% rate of return over the next year. So if I plug in the information from this scenario into my present value formula, I take my $2,200, which is my future value, and I divide that by 1 plus the rate of return, which is 0.03, and the number of periods again is 1. So I would expect in this scenario that if $2,000 at a 3% rate of return would total $2,135 and some change 1 year from now. So what does that say about our choice? In other words, if you were paid $2,000 today and based on a 3% interest rate, the amount would not be enough to give you $2,200 1 year from now. So it's clear we can see which one we should pick. Now, we could go back through this scenario and change the interest rate. Would a higher interest rate give us closer to that $2,200? Certainly. The unfortunate part is that there's no way to guarantee or there's no way to exactly predict what that interest rate is going to be. Now, as I said before, future value should look familiar to us because last class, all of those calculations and all of those scenarios that we did were all about compound interest. And so I put the formula up here as a reminder and as a refresher. A lot of you put a picture or put this formula up on the slide deck that we created as a resource. The future value is important to investors and financial planners as they use it to estimate how much an investment made today will be worth in the future. So if I'm going to start putting away, or I have $10,000 today, how much money am I going to have in the future? Am I going to be able to reach my goal that I have established for myself? Knowing this enables investors, I can make sound investment decisions based on my needs. Maybe I need a little bit more money 5 or 10 or 15, 20 years down the road. The hard part is there's so many external factors, inflation being the biggest one, that can adversely affect the future value of an asset by eroding its value. Or we could have a significant decline in the rate of return for your investment, whether it's the stock market, whether it's real estate, whatever the case may be. Again, refer to the Power of Compounding slide deck that we created for examples and resources. Right? If anything in the video, if you need to go back and rewatch or anything that maybe you need to go over again, this is the idea behind these videos, is that you have the ability to pause it, go back, revisit these things. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the interest activities, the same Google Doc that you were working on last class. And this is the third page in that document. And so you're going to use the formulas for future value and present value to answer the following questions. The formulas are on the previous slides. They will also be shared with you. We're going to work through these scenarios on your own, and then we're going to come back together and discuss.